A concealed episode of my life prior to marriage, a genuine tale of betrayal. Greetings to all, I exist. Mia was born and raised in Virginia. A tranquil locale adorned with tree-lined streets and long rows of houses. During my formative years, I was primarily in the company of my parents. My mother was a kind spirit, always beaming at me from the break of dawn as she went about her preparations. Morning meal extending to dusk. In the modest kitchen, she challenged my father, a man of few words yet immense responsibility, who toiled diligently to provide for our family. We resided in a modest, unpretentious home, yet it overflowed with affection. Everything in my memory was flawless, or at least that was my belief. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, allowing me to keep sharing more captivating true stories like this one. Be sure to watch this video all the way through, as the story is bound to be exceptionally captivating. However, at the age of 15, my entire world came crashing down. My mother left this world after a sudden and unforeseen illness, so swiftly that I couldn't fully grasp the reality of it all. The sensation of void deepened within me. I observed my father grow solitary in a home that once resonated with joy. We still shared the space, yet we were no longer the family we used to be. Each morning, I made my way to school. And every night, I returned home. It remained the same kitchen, with the same uncomplicated meals. However, my mother was absent, and each meal consisted of just two people now. The gap between my father and me seemed more expansive than the very walls of our home, when I turned 18, and he chose to remarry. It was a surprise, even though I understood deep down that he was worthy of joy once more. His new wife, my stepmother, was a warm and nurturing presence. She arrived with her son, Alex, who was a year my junior. Initially, it felt odd, as though my entire existence had been flipped on its head. Once more, the tranquility I had once cherished was slipping away. At first, I experienced some discomfort in my attempts to bond with my younger brother, despite the fact that he had never acted in a way that would warrant such feelings. He was reserved and, like me, was navigating the challenges of our new circumstances during the evenings. The entire family would come together in the living room. My dad and stepmother engaged in conversation about work or future plans, while Alex and I shared knowing looks. Overwhelmed by confusion, I found myself lowering my head during family meals, which strangely turned into opportunities for us to connect more deeply. Alex frequently assisted me with food, a small gesture that carried a weight of significance. He was often reserved and spoke little, yet there were moments when his gazes held a touch longer than expected. I questioned whether I was being overly sensitive, or if it was just a younger brother's fondness for his new older sister. Yet there was an undeniable tension that neither of us addressed. Feelings that should have remained purely sisterly, but had become increasingly complicated. There were instances during the day when my heart raced at his closeness, and I loathed that feeling. I despised the realization that I had begun to see him as something beyond a brother. One night, I heard a light footsteps echoed in the hallway as Alex slipped into my room. A familiar routine we often shared. We would exchange brief conversations before he retreated to his own space, but this time, he lingered longer than usual. His gaze lingered longer than usual, searching mine as if he sought to convey something profound. I found myself at a loss for words. The air surrounding us was dense and electric. The silence lingered. And before I could even process it, as I nodded, I subtly encouraged him to linger a bit more. We sat together in the darkness, two strangers who felt an inexplicable closeness. To be truthful, I had a considerable fondness for Alex. He possessed a striking charm that drew me in. At times I found myself questioning whether guilt should weigh on me, given our shared name as brothers. Yet, those musings were quickly overshadowed by the rational understanding that accompanied our coexistence under one roof. We resided in separate rooms on the second floor, though they were in close proximity, while my father and stepmother occupied the first floor. This arrangement sometimes led to uncomfortable situations. Alex and I found ourselves at crucial turning points in our journeys. I was a college freshman, and he was a senior in high school, both of us navigating the challenges of preparing for exams. The fresh cadence of existence. Yet, the atmosphere between us was thick with unspoken words during those serene evenings following school. We would gather on the sofa in the living room, sharing a moment of togetherness. The soft light of the television filled the room, casting a gentle glow over our quiet moments as we grappled with the search for words. The emotions we shared were unclear, not the usual sentiments found among siblings. I came to understand that I truly had feelings for him. This realization left me perplexed, transcending mere familial affection. Still, I couldn't ignore the way my heart raced every time I laid eyes on Alex. It was a tranquil evening, much like any other, when I came to the unsettling realization that this one would not conclude in the same manner. My parents had embarked on a trip for roughly 5 days, leaving Alex and me to navigate the solitude of our home. At first, we believed it would be an opportunity to unwind without the watchful eyes of adults. That evening, we settled into the living room, watching a romantic film that held little interest for either of us, simply passing the time. I had set out some snacks, including dried squid, fruits, and a few cans of soda, as we unwound after a hectic week. The film commenced. With a sense of innocence, we engaged in light conversation, laughter echoing through the quiet house. However, an unforeseen moment unfolded, revealing a couple locked in a fervent embrace for reasons that remained a mystery. We became quiet. The laughter dwindled, and the distance between us grew heavy. With unspoken words, I sensed Alex's gaze upon me, and a warm sensation enveloped my body as I sat there, gripping my soda can to steady my nerves in that moment. Suddenly, Alex wrapped his arms around me. His movements were powerful, surprising, and completely captivating. His kisses were urgent, as if all the emotions we had suppressed for so long had exploded. I couldn't resist, my heart raced in turmoil, yet my body responded differently. We had crossed the line that separated sibling affection in that moment, in the darkness of the quiet room. That night shifted from an ordinary evening into something completely extraordinary. It signified a pivotal moment, a transformation that I understood would change everything throughout that whole night. Alex and I were inseparable, shattering all boundaries. Everything unfolded instinctively, a consequence of what had been buried for so long. The closeness we once cherished faded, supplanted by emotions that eluded our grasp. I can clearly recall the sensation of the following morning, as the soft sunlight streamed through the curtains. I found myself beside Alex in what was meant to be my tranquil sleeping area. Everything around me remained the same. The room was quiet, the light warm. Yet, something within me had irrevocably shifted as we exchanged. A handful of words exchanged, accompanied by glances that hinted at a shared understanding. Our lives would never return to what they once were. In the days that followed, my father and stepmother pursued their travels, while we embraced every moment together. The previous awkwardness had vanished, replaced by a complex sense of comfort. We existed as though we were a youthful pair in love, unburdened by the scrutinizing gaze of those around us. Meals evolved from family gatherings into intimate moments shared solely between Alex and me each night we watched. During this time, we talked about movies and ended our days in the same bed, allowing myself to forget reality and choosing to ignore that Alex and I were merely siblings in name. We lived as a carefree couple, unaware of the world surrounding us. At last, the day came when my parents returned, and upon entering the house, everything returned to its usual state. Alex and I fell back into our familiar roles as siblings, acting as if nothing had happened, as if every intimate moment had simply been a passing dream. My parents stayed blissfully unaware, engaged in cheerful conversations about their travels, while Alex and I shared knowing glances, fully aware that our secret needed to stay concealed. In the months that followed, we maintained our hidden relationship, stealing moments together whenever possible. Those secretive evenings, brimming with passion, evolved into a cherished routine. Whenever my parents retired for the night, or had plans outside, Alex would quietly enter my room, and we would embrace as if no walls had ever existed between us. During the day, we maintained a facade of normalcy, as though nothing was amiss. Family meals continued as usual, with no hint of suspicion, while Alex and I shared only brief, fleeting glances. This concealed tension left me breathless, yet the guilt that weighed on me wasn't enough to drive me away. I persisted in living a secret life. And every night with Alex felt so familiar that I feared I could never break free. I understood that I couldn't allow this to go on, so I quietly started taking birth control pills. Determined to keep my actions hidden from everyone. I feared the possible outcomes of our relationship, yet rather than putting a stop to it, I chose to hold on. About a year later, Alex graduated and relocated to a new city for college. When he left, I realized our relationship would inevitably shift, even if I was reluctant to acknowledge it. The distance complicated everything, no more secret nights, no more shared quiet moments. The physical separation forced us to pause our relationship, though I often felt nostalgic for our past. After graduating, I sought a new path for myself. I applied for a job as an office worker at a digital company. The position was nothing extraordinary, but it offered me stability, a respite from the emotional turmoil I had experienced. That's when he met him, the man who would change my life forever. He owned a successful hair salon in the city, and exuded calmness, confidence, and charm. From our first meeting I was struck by his strength and kindness. He was unlike anyone I had ever known. Every story he shared, every glance he offered made me feel safe, something I'd long yearned for. We fell in love quickly. Everything unfolded naturally, as if we were destined to find one another. Before long we were married, beginning the family life I had always dreamed of. Now we have a child together, and life feels more complete than ever. My days with him and our child helped me temporarily forget the pain. All memories of the past, although they occasionally resurfaced during moments of weakness, I know I have found a new home, a man worthy of love and respect. However, somewhere in my mind the memories of Lex and those secret days lingered, refusing to fully fade. I often wondered if I would ever truly forget, but now I have a family to protect, and that is what matters most. Yet a part of me feels guilt towards my husband. He is a wonderful man, always showing me genuine care and affection, but every time I look into his eyes I feel a heaviness in my heart, as if I am hiding a part of my past that he deserves to know. I grapple with the question of whether I should tell him about my past with Alex. The thought keeps me awake at night, torn between revealing the truth and keeping the secret forever. I fear that if I can confess, he might never look at me the same way again. Everything we have built, the little family I cherish, could crumble due to my admission. On the other hand, living with this secret feels like a burden weighing me down each day. It makes me feel unworthy of the love he has for me. Honestly, I find myself at a crossroads, grappling with uncertainty about which path to take. As I reflect on my past decisions, I worry that sharing my story might lead to judgment for the hurt I've caused. If you were in my position, what would you do? Would you choose to reveal the truth, risking everything, or would you opt for silence, burying the past in hopes it won't resurface to harm those dear to you? I welcome your thoughts in the comments below. If you were in my shoes, would you confront the consequences of honesty, or protect what you have by keeping secrets? Any advice, sympathy, or even criticism would be appreciated, as I truly seek guidance on this uncertain journey ahead.